Homes like this right here, homes like this right here are in the 300s.
Menominee Falls, Greater Milwaukee, where if you want an insight into property and politics, you better call Chris Slinker.
Is it like most cities in America where they're blue and the rural regions are red?
We are most definitely a hyper-segregated area when it comes to politics.
In Milwaukee, everything is more expensive than it was 4 years ago, especially houses.
So yes, so I sold this house a few years ago, and this is a subdivision which homes like this were selling about 4 years ago, right in the low 600s. And this is one example of that type of house.
And what's it worth now?
Probably in the 800, 850. Now I'm digging my heels.
As well as being a top real estate agent, he's the vice chair of the local branch of the Republican Party.
Policies of the current administration have put a huge strain on the economy, not just in the housing market, but in multiple markets. And I think housing is just one big example because in many cases, at least in the United States, our home is one of our biggest investments.
The drivers of inflation include the money that was pumped into the economy after COVID, the war in Ukraine. They're kind of global issues. How can you blame one side or the other for what's happened here in America?
Well, maybe a global issue, but here locally, at least in the United States, as a nation, both sides handle the economy in much different ways. And I think that Donald Trump and the Trump administration had a much better handle on appropriately spending money in the economy than the left does.
Wisconsin could fall either way on November 5, but this area, about 30 minutes drive from downtown Milwaukee, is Republican territory, with some Democratic outposts.
You know, these homes are still probably in the 400. That one's worth less because of that ugly sign.
Gary, here we are, we're in a Republican area, but you've got the Harris Walls signs on your lawn. Why?
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are the future of our country. When you compare the alternative, Donald Trump, who's been there in 2016, has proved himself to be completely incompetent and a disgrace to the presidency. This is a high-stakes election. I mean, prices may be up, but that happens up and down, it fluctuates. Things like that will fluctuate over time. So as far as the main issue goes, that's not really a lot to me.
Again and again, polls say the economy is the issue for Americans. Donald Trump taps into that with his mantra, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" Rachel Maciejewski is reminded of that every time she goes shopping for her family of 6.
Have you noticed prices changing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I can't go to the grocery store without spending less than $250 usually.
It's an expensive exercise.
Well, and $250 is very basic. I mean, when I go grocery shopping and I need a little bit more like toothpaste and other things, I'm easily spending $350, $400 in a shopping trip.
And what did you use to spend?
If I budgeted appropriately, I could get away with between $150 and $200.
Rachel's a nurse. Her husband, Scott, is a police officer. They earn above the median wage and have a small mortgage, but they're not getting ahead. In fact, they're cutting back.
I mean, it has been a conversation that we've had with the kiddos, and I know my youngest daughter, we actually dropped gymnastics this year because of the price that we were paying. We are busting at the seams. They don't have a lot of space to hang out or have friends over. They all share bedrooms, so there isn't private space for them to hang out.
If you could afford it, would you move somewhere else?
It's just nothing that we have been able to afford. And now with interest rates and the cost of homes going up, it's just not even an option for us.
The economy in Wisconsin is strong, but life is more expensive than it used to be. House prices went up 8% over the past year. Inflation peaked at 9.1% in 2022, the highest rate in decades, but is now back down to 2.1%. Across the nation, grocery prices have risen about 20% since Donald Trump was president.
Do you think life would have been less expensive under Donald Trump?
I do. We were living much richer lives when he was in office.
Only in America, making America great again.
Trump 2024.
I'm really concerned about world peace, and I think Trump has the energy and just the vision to pull the world together again.
I mean, we've seen such a decline in our nation since the Biden-Harris administration, and it's causing such tragedies to families right now.
Donald Trump won Wisconsin in 2016. Joe Biden took it back in 2020. And nothing highlights the importance of this state and the closeness of the race like the fact that in the last gasp of the campaign, tonight, both candidates are here. Donald Trump downtown, Kamala Harris a few kilometres away from this Red Sea in the city's suburbs.
The sea parts around a small but formidable blue reef.
Trump is unfit.
I don't know if it's going to help any, but it's worth a try. I can't just sit home and not do anything.
As a foreign observer, I can't understand why it's so close. Can you?
No. I go to bed at night and praying. That's what I go to bed doing. I just can't believe it. I'm praying that the women go in and vote for Kamala, even though their husbands think they're voting for someone else. I could be wrong, but that's my hope.
Also here, Rachel Maciejewski.
Yeah! Trump 2024!
What did you think of the rally last night?
Oh my gosh, it was fun. It was great to be amongst like-minded people.
You're a Christian woman. Some of Donald Trump's behaviour has been, let's say, a little, I would imagine, a little troubling to someone of faith. Some of the intemperate language, the aggressiveness. How do you marry that behaviour with your faith?
Sure. Nobody is perfect. God is the only perfect being. We all make mistakes. I think the mean tweets, I think they're unintentional at times, jovial at times. I feel like we could compare continuously in Kamala versus Donald Trump. We teach our kids not to lie, and unfortunately I think Kamala is continuously lying.
At the other side of town, the battle for Milwaukee's Racine County is so tight, the pins could fall either way. So tell me about life in Racine County. What's it like? Are you winning? Is it fun?
To me, it's just average. Go to work, come home. I have a wife and a daughter, spend time with them, go out one night a week with my coworkers to bowl and stuff like that, and that's about it.
Friday night bowling is sacrosanct for Paul Hummer and his buddies. Is it expensive living in Racine County?
It's gone up definitely the last couple of years. Since COVID, everything's kind of exploded a little bit, but from what I read and see, it's probably still about average.
So you're allowed to tell me how you voted?
I voted for Kamala. I just don't like the divisiveness that the Trump side has provided, in my opinion.
What are the issues that are important to you this election?
Big one is on the women's stuff, the freedoms that seem to be taken away out of their hands and put into the government's hands. I don't necessarily like that stuff. Not that I'm like pro-abortion, but I believe it's up to the woman and the situation she's in.
Paul has a wildly optimistic hope that the American discord ends on election day.
30, 40 years ago when I was 20 years old, people had difference in politics and we disagreed, but we still were all friends and got along, and we didn't believe one side was trying to destroy the other. And I would like the country to get back to that. Whether it happens, I don't know.